Welcome to the Big World Made Small podcast for the adventure traveler. I'm thrilled you're here. My name is Jason Elkins, and in addition to being your host, I'm also a former U.S. Army paratrooper, third-generation commercial hot air balloon pilot, paramotor pilot, ex-Montana fly fishing guide, advanced open water scuba diver, and a full-time nomad that's visited more than 30 countries on 6 continents. As a seasoned adventure travel expert with a passion for creating and sharing meaningful experiences, I'm on a quest to impact the lives of adventure travelers, tour operators they rely on, and the communities that host them. Every week, I bring you exclusive interviews with fascinating adventure tourism experts who have agreed to share their personal stories, favorite destinations, and some invaluable travel insights they've picked up along the way. We'll enjoy a casual conversation, create some connections, and likely share some laughs. It's my hope that by the end of each episode, this big world will feel just a bit smaller. Let's get started, shall we? Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Big World Made Small podcast for the adventure traveler. Big day here on the show. Happy to have each and every one of you back. We've got Leigh Barnes here. Leigh is the president of the Americas for Intrepid Travel. I know many of you have heard his name before, seen him out and about, maybe even run into him in person. This is my first opportunity to have a conversation with him. So Leigh, thank you so much for joining us here on the show.
I appreciate it, Jason. Thanks for having me on the show. Hopefully I'm sounding with it and on board. It's 10 o'clock here in Seattle, so hopefully what I've got to say is worthwhile and I stay awake and have a good chat.
I was going to mention that. You're really going kind of above and beyond to stay up so late with us and join us here on the show. So happy to do that. We'll try and keep it all really, really purposeful and meaningful here for you. So
well, anyway. Yeah, I'm sure you will, Jason. I'm not worried about that. It's probably more me.
Hey, Leigh, we're gonna discuss Intrepid for sure. I know it's a big part of your life, but I also really kind of want to dig in. A lot of people kind of know what Intrepid is. I don't think we need to spend a lot of time telling them what Intrepid is. But I think in all fairness, let's do the 30, 60-second elevator pitch for Intrepid, and then we're going to dig into your background.
Yeah, sounds good, man. So Intrepid's all about sharing in the uncommon. We travel to 100 different countries and have thousands of different itineraries. Everything from trekking to Everest Base Camp, food tour of Vietnam, seeing the gorillas in Rwanda, touring the souks in Marrakesh. And it's all about having sustainable experience-rich tours. It's generally done in a small group with the local leader, and we really focus on making sure people have great experiences, eat the local food, meet the local people, really having that connection. And we're always trying to do that as sustainably as possible. So minimizing our impact where we can and try and have a positive impact where possible. So that's either thinking about the environmental impact and reducing carbon emissions, or it's about the community interactions. How do we make sure every dollar that we have goes into the communities that need it most? And that's basically what we're trying to do, is grow the market for sustainable experience for travel. Make sure people have an amazing holiday all over the world. Those holidays having a good impact, or at the very worst, minimal negative impact.
Love it. And, just from my perspective as someone that's kind of on the outside of Intrepid anyway, is that Intrepid, it's one of the larger companies kind of in this adventure travel space or experiential travel space, but it's not like so big that it's out of touch. You guys have people on the ground working for Intrepid in all these different places. So it's kind of, just from my perspective, it's kind of like you have a bunch of little operators all around the world that are all kind of aligned on the same mission. Yeah. And Intrepid's big enough that you guys can really make an impact. When you guys set up an initiative or, create goals, and you're able to make an impact that can be a little trickier for some of the smaller operators, to be honest with you. So that's something I've always admired.
That's probably part of the secret sauce. I've been around for 35 years. We have DMCs all over the world, over 30 different locations. And so we have staff on the ground creating the trips, working with the local communities, building the impact projects, making sure the trips are really amazing. But when you sew that all together, we're getting quite substantial, and that means our impact can be multiplied. So, everything from around what we're trying to do to, on wildlife, moving elephant rides, or our foundation, we've raised over $20 million into community projects, or making the next step in our climate initiatives around how we focus on reducing our own carbon emissions. Because of the size and scale, we're able to do things that are quite cool. We're also very transparent. So I think that openness, gives people that look into what we're doing and understanding and learning. But then we're also hopefully humble. We have people on the ground doing the work and making sure that what we say is actually happening.
Love it. And, you say because of our size and scale, we're able to make an impact and do these things. But I'll tell you what, there's a lot more to it than that, because there's companies out there we're in the travel industry. There's a lot of companies out there that are a lot bigger than Intrepid that aren't doing those things. Right. So
Yeah,
it's not just a matter of, okay, we're a big company, so we do these things. You guys are a kind of a larger company in this space and you do those things, but there's a lot of companies that are not doing that. So it's a choice within the company, and I respect that.
yeah, totally. It's built in our DNA. I think to tell a man to the original founders, one of the things that's very important is that they created a company that was doing the right thing. And it's throughout our organization. We're a B Corp. That means we use the business as a force for good. So all of our goals, our KPIs, the whole business is built around making sure that we're not only focusing on profit, but also the purpose component of the business and doing the right thing.
Very, very cool. And for those of our listeners, I just want to mention this real quick. Actually, when I started the podcast, boy, it's almost coming up on the 2-year anniversary of releasing our first episode. And the first episode we released was with Tom Smith, your colleague
All right.
there
Yeah,
at
cool.
Intrepid. So,
Yeah, Tom's in Costa Rica now, so yeah, living it
yeah,
up. He's living the good life. Yeah, that's cool.
yeah, it's very cool. So I appreciate you coming back to kind of mark. Maybe I'll schedule actually so your episode releases on the 2-year anniversary of our first episode. I'm
Yeah,
not sure
cool.
yet, but
That'd be great.
anyways, super, super happy. All right. Now let's dig into the stuff that people just probably wouldn't know. The goal is to let's get to some things that even people that, your friends, your family, they're going to hear you share something that maybe they've never heard before. So how far back do we need to go, Leigh, to kind of figure out how you got from where you were to where you are now?
Oh my God, it's quite a philosophical question, Jason.
Yeah, I
I,
know. I said I'd make it easy, but it is your story. So let's,
maybe my psychologist might say high school or something like that. When at
oh, I
that
bet,
stage,
I bet
but
it starts, I bet it start go back further than that, Leigh.
yeah,
I'm just
mate.
guessing.
I think the point the reference point I always use was going to Everest Base Camp and trekking through the Himalayas. That was for me the biggest pivotal moment in my career. Also in travel in my life. So from that point on, I think that was about almost over 10 years, 12 years ago now. I did that trip, and um, from that moment, my life has pretty much changed and has led me. Most of my decisions have come off the back of that, and I learned a lot about myself on that trip. I learned a little bit more about the world, and hopefully, I'm a bit more humble and a bit better person than I probably was before that.
Oh, interesting. We're gonna dig into that. What was going on right before that? What were you doing before you went on the base camp trek?
I just started working at Intrepid, so I've been with Intrepid 15 years now, and I started off as a search and social media coordinator. So if you find any F-ups on the internet on Intrepid or Peregrine's account about 15 years ago, that was definitely me.
That's you. Okay.
Yeah. But I was probably just like cruising, late 20s, more focused on the weekend, and my travel plans. And I was just cruising, probably a typical, lad in many regards from like a working class suburb. My focus was probably more on fried chicken and craft beer as opposed to doing anything particularly interesting with my life. And yeah, that trip changed me in a couple of ways. It sort of showed how insignificant we all are. Walking through the Himalayas is quite humbling, and sort of just showed me that we are quite small. But on the flip side, it sort of it showed me that people are more alike than they are different. Everyone I met was basically trying to do the same things. They're all working. They're all trying to put their kids through a better life. They're all trying to have a bit of time to have some time with their friends and their family to have fun. And that we're all basically trying to do a different version of that or something pretty similar. And that I had a choice. I could decide just to cruise around, keep doing what I was doing, or I could be part of something bigger and focus my attentions beyond just the weekend. And I think I've been doing that ever since, although I still enjoy having a beer with my friends and spending time with my family. I have probably had a little bit more purpose and drive to my life since that moment.
Very cool. I think we need to go a little further. Let's go. Well, first of all, your
Further on
accent
that
is
trip, or further on that trip, or further into the past?
no, further into the past because I get that was a transformational moment, but in order
Yeah.
to really understand transformation, I think we need to understand what was going on before. So, and
Cool, cool,
obviously
cool.
your accent is different than my accent.
Yeah.
I'm guessing you didn't grow up in Seattle. So
No, no,
where are
no.
you from? Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Werribee, which is in Melbourne, Australia. So Werribee is a suburb, about 40 minutes, a classic satellite suburb. Everyone lives there but works or heads into the city. Typical blue collar neighborhood. Yeah, so that's where I grew up many, many moons ago. Blessed childhood, great childhood, very lucky, got to play lots of sport, school, loving family, all that stuff. But yeah, Melbourne, Australia was where I call home.
Was your family interested in travel? I mean, when's the first time that if you go all the way back, when's the first time you remember or thought, oh, geez, this world's a little bit bigger. There's things out there to see. I'm just kind of curious. Was there curiosity at that point?
Yeah, so travel for us was an hour drive the coast down to the coast, and it was a caravan, and it was spending our summers at the beach. So travel was, mattress on the floor, multiple families, my cousins, my grandparents, all at the caravan, playing cricket on the road out the front, walking to the beach. It's like 30, 40 degrees, spending the day in the sun, barbecues around the caravan. So, uh, pretty low key, but that was travel for us. I think my sort of first memory of travel, and I mentioned cricket, so sport, was the Australian cricket team used to go play in England, or used to still does go plays in England, and would go play in the Caribbean. And those pictures would be, I'd be like a young teenager watching those games on television. It was a different world. And that was the sort of first inkling for me that there was somewhere else that you could go to these things. You'd see Australian fans in the crowd. I was like, oh my God, that looks amazing. So sport for me was probably the first ever inclination. And the other one, and this came a little bit more in life, my mum would always say to my sisters and I that we weren't allowed to get married until we'd seen the world. So my mum
Mm.
had probably didn't get to travel herself as much as she wanted to. And she always said to me, don't get married, don't settle down until you've gone out and seen the world. She's probably regretting saying that to me now. I'm 43 and I live on the other side of the planet.
Yeah.
But
She
a
expected
cocktail of,
maybe you'd come back. She didn't
that's right.
say go see the world and stay away.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I've done it a few
Yeah.
times over the last 20 or so years. But yeah, a cocktail of those things, my family taking me down to the beach, still my favorite holiday anywhere in the world. If I can go chill by the beach for a couple of days, just takes me back. And then seeing the world through sport, so being able to get that lens and seeing again different cultures, different people, and yeah, my mum just pushing me in the direction that maybe she missed out on when she was younger.
Do you, I'm not sure I want to ask this because I don't know your whole story, but was your dad there? Was he involved when he was listening to your mom say, don't get married until you travel the world? I'm just trying to imagine what that might have looked like. And
Oh, I don't think my dad cared. Dad's very much a like you take care of your own shit sort of dad,
mm,
and whatever I decide to do, it's up to me as my own person. So, but he's much more working class, hardworking, a bit more straight edge. My mum was probably a bit more hippie and out there. So interesting cocktail. But my dad, very much a father that was like, you got to take care of your own stuff and you do what you need to do. And I'm very appreciative to have had the parents that I had, and he does rib my mum now over a glass of wine late at night about you told the kids that you wanted to see the world. So I do think there might be a little bit of heat there when we're not around, but they may have their arguments. But no, my dad was always been supportive, and he just always the mantra that I've got to do what I've got to do, and it's not my responsibility to sort my stuff out.
the reason I asked that question is I could just envision, your dad's there and maybe your mom's feeling or acting like she's a little frustrated with him. And then she looks at you and says, whatever you do, don't get married until you go see the world. And I'm like, he's probably thinking, oh, geez, because
No,
presume, because you mentioned she didn't have that opportunity.
yeah, I just think that we came from a part of the country and part of the world well, that probably wasn't on the cards, regardless if you were married or not. It just wasn't on the scope of things to be able to go travel. I'm sure people were, but it was just not like it. Probably felt like too many worlds away. So it was probably a dream they both would have loved. They've traveled a lot now when they're older, but yeah, I don't think it was in animosity. I think it was more like you guys have these opportunities, take and go live your life and go and see the world. But anyway, you don't know what happens behind the closed door. Maybe there was a little bit more animosity between like their parents, but I think my parents have always been like, the world joys to go have opportunities. I got lots of backing at school, sport, lots of freedom as a young adult. So I think it came from a place of love and opportunity.
Cool. I'm curious because growing up in the States, I had the opportunity to go to Australia when I was quite young. Spent about a month there with my father. He was into hot air ballooning, so he picked up a
Oh, yeah,
contract to
cool.
go fly hot air balloons in Canowindra, New South Wales.
Yeah, beautiful.
Pardon me. So we had the opportunity to go spend some time there. And for us, Australia was a long ways away. My
It
brother and
is. Yeah, it
I
is.
was 12, my brother was 11. We flew unaccompanied minors from Syracuse, New York to Sydney, Australia. Quite an
Oh, the
adventure.
trip. Yeah.
But I guess what I'm curious about is Australia seems so far away that even today, I think of growing up in Australia must feel like everything's so far away. But I'm not really sure because when I look at a map, or I went to Bali and there were a lot of Australians there. You guys are actually pretty close to a lot of things. So I'm curious, do you feel that most Australians feel like travel is difficult because everything's so far away, or is that just my ethnocentric mindset as someone that grew up in the States?
I think what you don't know, you don't know. So when you grow up, that's just the world you live in. I live in Australia; it's a long way from stuff. And because we're a long way, we sort of like, hey, I'm going to go. I better make the most of it. So we actually travel quite a lot,
Oh,
and we travel quite long. And because I think we have that isolation, we do have a longing to go see the world, and that we are a long way from everything. I think the older I get, the more I learn that how amazing Australia is and how privileged we are. But also, where I'm from, Melbourne, it's amazing that there's this big, vibrant city, like so far away from everything else, like so far away. And I quite get a lot of Americans or friends when they travel to Melbourne. They're like, "Oh my God, this city is huge and thriving." And same with Sydney, they're quite taken back with how vibrant they are as a destination. So yeah, I think what you don't know. And then also there's a bit of just the Aussie attitude, like I'm going to do it. Let's just go give it a crack and see what happens. And yeah, let's make it worthwhile.
yeah, I get that. What about your siblings? It sounds like you had some siblings involved as well. I'm just kind of curious if any of them went a similar path. Are they still in Australia? What?
They're both in Australia. They're both nurses, so much smarter than myself. And one of my sisters, Courtney, married an Irishman. She lived overseas in the UK and Ireland and travelled the world. My other sister, Kelly, lives up in the north of Queensland in Noosa, and she's travelled extensively. She just got back from a whitewater rafting tour, I think in the South Island of New Zealand, and she just did an Intrepid trip earlier this year up into the NT Northern Territory. So yeah, all pretty intrepid travelers. My parents are actually just left Seattle after 3 weeks here, and they're on a river cruise down the Danube. So yeah, we're all out going out and see the world. My sisters definitely gave it a fair crack as well.
Very cool. It sounds like your mom's advice resonated with all three of you, and then she had an opportunity to do some of that as well. That's pretty cool. What? So tell me, you you're in high school. Was there a moment? I mean, you mentioned the rugby games. You said rugby or
Cricket,
cricket?
cricket, cricket,
Cricket, yeah.
cricket, cricket.
You mentioned the cricket games. Isn't that cool? I'd love to go to England to a cricket game. Okay, I get that. Was there a point when you kind of opened up? Well, obviously there's a point because we're having this conversation. But was there a point before the trek that you thought, I really just walk me through it? High school, you finished high school. What happened?
Yeah, so high school, mate, to be honest, at that point, I still thought I was going to be captain of the Australian cricket team. So probably that would have been the same as thinking I was going to be Aaron Judge of the Yankees.
Hmm.
So that was my whole thought. I thought I was going to be a cricket superstar. my talent didn't match my
That
dreams.
happens. Yep.
And yeah, I wanted to become a sports journalist. I studied journalism at university in PR. Again, I don't think my aptitude or skill matched the execution, and I think my crutch came that I was just going to go live in the UK. So a big cultural thing for Australians is to go do a gap year or a couple of years in the UK, and um, my whole world really from probably about 18 till the time I went to the UK when I was 23, 24 was, save enough money and get my university over with so I can go live in the UK. And I didn't have any grand travel plans. My whole thing was basically just to go live in London and Edinburgh, and have fun with my mates. And that was it. And it probably wasn't the most sustainable or experiential travel. I was focused very much on just having fun and sightseeing, but probably more focused on the fun part. So sightseeing the world through the lens of the bar or the pub or something at that point. So yeah, my travel story when I was young isn't one for the romance novels or any grand insights or knowledge. It was really that I was probably a little bit lost. Um, I wanted to get out of Melbourne, go live somewhere else and see the world. And I just left and went and lived in Edinburgh for the best part of 2 years and saw a lot of Europe, which was really cool. But I wouldn't say I was one of the better travelers, Jason. I was pretty naive and ignorant at the time.
So yeah, because what I hear you saying, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but or what the story I'm interpreting is okay. I'm away from everything, no, close to Melbourne. Got my family here. I want to go. You pick the spot that's about as far away as can be physically.
Yeah,
That is, but culturally, I mean, there's some similarity. At least same language. I'm envisioning like a lot of people at that age are just like, I want to go party, have fun, meet a
yeah.
lot of interesting people from around the world, and just I don't have a plan so much, but the UK just sounds fun. Was that kind of what it was?
That's it. That's it. And that was probably where I saw the cricket match, and that was like something in the back of my mind that had stuck. And I probably
Did you go to a lot of cricket matches when you were in the UK?
I probably didn't have the financial means to make that happen, but
Mm.
I did. I have been to the cricket in the UK since, so I've been able to tick that bucket list off, which is amazing.
Was
But
there a
yeah,
moment? I'm curious because I'm fascinated by sometimes we envision things and then we go do them and our identity gets tied up. Like maybe I'm like, um, okay, I'm going to go to the UK and I'm just going to go to the UK and party and have fun. Do you remember? Was there a moment when you doubted your choice, like when you got there
yeah,
and you
the whole
think, "Oh
time.
man, I'm homesick. What the hell am I doing here? This is kind of dumb."
The whole time I was so naive. And so, like, I don't think I would have been able to do it if I knew what I knew today. Like, I didn't know how far I was going. I didn't know how disconnected I was going to be from the family. Like, this was a point back then where, no, I had to, like, get a black cab if I wanted to go somewhere. If I wanted to call my parents, I had to get a phone card. Do you remember those things?
Yeah, yeah,
To
yeah.
call back. I had to get a bank account. I couldn't get a bank account. Um, I ran out of money. It was really hard to get a job. Um, the weather was completely different. All these little things up here. I made heaps of mistakes, and I don't know. In hindsight, I think I left with like $3,000. Like that's insane to me now to go and survive. And I didn't have a job for 2 months until I got a gig and was able to start working. So yeah, the whole time I was there, and I've lived overseas in Canada, in the US, and I would say once a month, I have have a feeling about what the hell have I done? Why am I here? I could be back in the amazing Melbourne, close to my friends and family. But yeah, I think that naivety, the curiosity, the want to test myself, also just to go out and see what I can do. And yeah, ambition, something about maybe testing myself on the world stage, which may sound ridiculous, and but like going out and seeing if I can do it outside of Australia and just for my own self worth. So yeah, heaps of times I've doubted myself, and I doubted myself probably 3 times today.
I I get that. I can relate to that, Lee. Very much. Just in life in general, but I've been traveling full time for 4 years, and every
Well,
probably
I
few
think
days, it's
I
like,
think I've
what
tried.
am I doing?
Totally, and I try and be honest because like too often we get the positive thing. Probably people see my LinkedIn and go like, hopefully, he's done this cool. Hopefully, that's it. Again, I'm got my being a bit self promotional, but you know, the person I project is not the reality. And too often, I think we all speak about like how easy stuff is and the positives. You're out here traveling with your life. Life is hard enough as it is. And then to go put these other barriers like traveling the world. I'm sure there's times you're like, God, I just wish I was near some friends or someone I could just walk to that, that go for a walk with that friend or go for a beer somewhere or call that person. All those things. It's just a little bit easier. Yeah, and it's hard, and I stuff up all the time. And this move to Seattle about 8 months ago, I was probably way too naive. I moved my young daughter, who's at the time was 18 months, and my wife, and yeah, it's been really hard. So yeah, I think too often in travel, it's so much focused, and just in business and life, it's like here's all the good stuff. This is what it looks like. I doubt myself and found things hard many times throughout my life.
Yeah, it's tricky. I mean, it's tricky just when you're in a place that you're comfortable and familiar with and you do have friends and family. Like,
Yeah,
things
totally.
can be challenging there.
Yeah,
Especially as you get older and your dynamics change, it's a little harder to make friends and connections. I'm not suggesting that it's hard for you to make friends. I'm sure it's not. But yeah, there are definitely times when you're bouncing around that it gets challenging. So, but okay, so let's go back to you get to the UK. You're going to party it up, party hard. You think you're going to go to a lot of cricket games and stuff like that. Kind of the reality sets in. It's a little bit more complicated. Where did you go from there?
mentally or physically.
Well, it depends on how deep you want to go. We can spin this
um,
off as a psychology podcast as well if you'd like.
well, like so, I had the absolute time of my life. Like, made some of the best friends. Really connected with the Irish. Had so many Irish friends. I got to go to the Greek islands. Backpack throughout. Holland and Belgium and France and Spain. Just had an amazing experience there, and sort of again opened up my eyes to the world. Being a boy from the suburbs, sort of really again showed me what was possible, what's happening in the world. That a bit of gumption and some hard work, you can make stuff happen, and to go do that. So yeah, I travelled a lot. I found towards the end I was pretty brutal, not having much money, and just missed life in Australia. So ended back up in Melbourne after a couple of years. Um, and was just back. We got a job back at the Ford Motor Company here in Melbourne, and yeah, was doing comms and a bunch of other stuff, customer
Okay.
care comms, all that sort of stuff back here. And yeah, a couple of years later, I managed to snag a job at Intrepid.
So I'm curious, that time that you were in Europe, traveling around, kind of doing, well, can't remember if you specifically said it, but in your mind, was this all kind of the gap year experience? Like, I'm just going to go do this for a while and come back, or did you know that at the time? Did you really have a plan?
Oh, I didn't really have a plan. No, I was just going there and seeing what the hell would happen. Yeah, looking back, super naive, but yeah, I just thought I'd go and it would work itself out. But when you're 24, 25, yeah, you don't, I don't know, I was never the most planned person. I'm still probably not the most planned person now. So, um, yeah, I had no grand intentions other than to go.
Leigh, I'm 52, traveling full time, and I still don't have a plan. So I want one on you. You're making better progress than I am. Hey, the people that you mentioned that you met a lot of Irish people. You met people as you were traveling around. Were they all pretty kind of in the similar space in that doing the gap year, partying, no real plans, or do you remember meeting a few people that influenced you to make big changes, or that you got you at least thinking about what you ended up doing in the future?
No, I just met heaps of different people from lots of walks of life, and that mosaic or tapestry of everyone somehow, influenced me. I got to, um, yeah, meet older people, younger people, a lot of people my age from all walks of life. I don't know if it was probably partying for partying's sake, but we're all a little bit lost and you don't know what you're doing, and sort of parties that having fun with each other is the escape to work it all out. But yeah, I just got to meet lots of different people from lots of walks of life, talk heaps, learn a lot. But there was no magic bullet, no one person that probably all amalgamates into like a tapestry of different people. But yeah, I think the thing was just to meet lots of different people and learn the world was bigger than I thought it was, that I was probably less important than I thought I was, and that there's no one way to do it. And there's lots of great ways to live a great life. Um, and I think the main thing is just like, it's on you. You know, it's your life. And I learned from everyone is like, you've got to take responsibility for it and make stuff happen. And at that point, I definitely wasn't doing that.
Okay, gotcha. So you moved back to Australia. Did you go to work? You said for Ford, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Did you go like? Did you have that job lined up before you went back, or
No, no,
did
no.
it?
I just came back and started to hit the phones and ringing up some old colleagues that worked at different organisations, and yeah, I was lucky enough to get a job back there doing a bunch of different things.
Do you remember how you felt? Because sometimes you've been out traveling the world and exploring and doing this stuff. Coming home can be great on many respects. It's like, oh, nice to be home, but also sometimes people can feel like, oh man, I really miss what I was doing. I need to figure out a way to get back. And do you just remember kind of what was going on in your head when you maybe a month after you got back to Australia?
Yeah, I remember being just a couple of things I was ecstatic about. One, to be with my family and my friends. Like, that was just so much fun to be able to just pick that up. The other was to be able to have Australian fish and chips again, which is much better than fish and chips in Edinburgh. So that was like amazing. But then I felt like completely like void. Like, what was I doing here? I was back living in, my parents' house. That was, different. Didn't have a job. My identity, maybe without realizing, had been like big Aussie guy living in the UK, and that was like who I was, and I'd sort of in suspended belief, like just suspended reality, and put
Yeah.
that to the side. And my reality was, you know, alternative guy wearing op shop clothing, cruising around Edinburgh, backpacking around Europe. That was it. And then I got to Melbourne, and after that glow, like it was still great to be with my friends and family, but so what am I doing? I'm in the suburbs. Life's good, like lifestyle, like life where I was in Melbourne's amazing. But I felt like vacant or like a little bit like
I get it.
mm, empty. Um, and look, it took me a long time to work that out as well. Like that, I needed to work, do something I was interested in. The job I got into, I was doing it just for the paycheck, and I really struggled with that. I didn't enjoy it. So yeah, I definitely remember feeling vacant or a bit hollow or shallow, and what have I done? Why am I here? That sort of like
Right.
questioning, and not that blind faith and optimism I had when I went to Edinburgh, where it was, I was doing something, um, even if it was nothing. So yeah.
I get that. Thank you for sharing that. And I'm curious, sometimes when you go have an adventure like that and you come back and maybe friends and family, maybe they have changed, maybe they haven't changed. It's all perspective. It's like, well, who's really changed? But I'm curious, did you come back to friends that hadn't traveled and that maybe you felt like it was a little harder? I mean, they're your friends, but was it a little harder to connect with them after you'd been
Uh,
off traveling or
not really. I have such an amazing group of friends that I'm always like so happy to be around, and they actually make life too easy. And I'm very lucky and privileged to be able to be that safe and go over beer with my friends, and they look after me. And maybe I'm being a little bit cocky about this, but I'm very lucky to have such a great, very strong group of friends. And yeah, we all changed. I changed. I was probably called woke or a bit too lefty at that point, and um, they maybe weren't. But nothing that really changed their relationship for the good or the bad. We just all changed and we've grown. It was
did you,
probably
I'm curious, did you get mostly oh, Leigh, that's so cool that you went and did this? Or was it, you're freaking crazy or you're irresponsible? I mean, did you get, what kind of response in general did you get from your friends? Loving, warm, great friends. I got that, but I'm just curious, what message
um,
did you get from them?
look, as long as the story was good and they were laughing, I don't think they really cared. The main thing was just having good banter with my mates, and if I was doing that, I was holding up my end of the bargain.
Okay.
So there may have
That
been
sounds
some of
very
them
Aussie from
cool.
what I understand. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not that level of judgment or thought, Jason. It was more like, you're back, let's have fun, and you're telling a good yarn, and we're laughing. To be honest, great if it was crazy, great if it wasn't. Just good to have you being here, telling those jokes, and if we're laughing, we're fine. So, no, I don't ever remember it. I don't remember being judged or not even judged those sort of comments. I'm sure they happened, but, yeah, and I was probably milking it a little bit harder than I could have or should have because they weren't there, so I could have said whatever I wanted. So I was probably leaning on that a little bit harder, and the tails were probably longer than they should have been.
Were your sisters? I don't know if your sisters are younger than you.
Yeah, they're
Had
younger.
they
They're
already
younger.
been traveling, or were you the first one to go do it?
They were younger. I think they travelled more as teenagers in school. I hadn't done that, but I was the first as an adult to go away and leave that.
What what do you recall? Kind of their response. I mean, do you feel like you inspired them to do some of the same? If you hadn't done it, would they? I mean,
Look, I think I'm the older brother. That hopefully they looked up to me in some regards and not in others. But my relationship with them, is very strong in a way that like we don't have to be around each other all the time to know it's strong. If we ever need something from each other, we just call and it will be taken care of, and we'll be do whatever we can. And I think, we all look to each other in different ways for inspiration. And I think maybe they look for me just for my overconfidence or storytelling or just bravado to go and do things. So I think, yeah, that probably, but I look for them a lot too around their compassion and how they care for people and think of others. And I
yeah.
always I look to them a lot that I maybe not doing enough in that regards. And yeah, I definitely have inspiration from my sisters in how loving they are and how caring and
Right,
how
because you said they're
determined,
both nurses, right?
yeah, and how determined they are. I don't think I could have the level of concentration and to drive to do the study that's required to become that. So yeah, I definitely respect their determination to make that happen. So yeah, blessed to have them as sisters, and I'm inspired by that. I like to think that they were inspired by the fact that I was able to have the confidence to go and travel somewhere, but hopefully too, there's a lot of other my attributes they think of
Yeah,
into beyond just being cocky enough to get on a plane to the UK the first time.
that's a big part of it. Realistically, is there's an awful lot of people that kind of aspire to go do some of that stuff, but then don't necessarily take the action, and that's fine. It's we all get to work out our own shit, right?
That's right. That's right.
Let me ask you this: so you're working at Ford. I heard you say this. What I heard was, "What am I doing? I came back here. I'm working this job, but it's not really fulfilling." And then it sounds like you went from there to Intrepid. So while you were at Ford, were you actively looking for something that was more in the travel business or industry, or had those
No,
types of
no,
opportunities, or what were you
no,
looking for?
no, no. So at that point, I was wanting to do something else. And I was doing a range of different jobs there in the marketing, customer communication side of thing. And around that time was like Google advertising was really kicking off. Social media was taking off or just starting in many regards. So I went to school. I did some diplomas around PPC advertising, Facebook, blogging. God, I went to some blogging conventions. Remember blogging? Blogging was the podcasting of the early 2000s, I think, in many regards.
Mm-hmm.
You had to have a blog. So yeah, I went and studied that. I started to do, free online marketing for friends, businesses, and that sort of stuff. And I was just applying for jobs. I just thought that was such a cool, interesting new space. I'd always been doing a lot of comms, marketing, hybrid stuff, but hadn't found my niche within that world. And yeah, the just a job came up at a company that wasn't Intrepid yet. It was a company called Peregrine Adventures.
Mm-hmm.
Their search and social media. Eventually, that became part of Intrepid through some acquisitions over time. And yeah, job came up, and I remember going to that job interview in a suit and tie. Very different for an adventure travel company. I was too naive. I didn't know everyone was there in jeans and t-shirts. Or not jeans. We couldn't wear jeans or Peregrine. They were in chinos and a t-shirt. Pretty chill. And I went in and yeah, pitched my ass off because I just wanted a job in the space. I just wanted to work for an interesting company, do something else. And yeah, I went in for an hour conversation, was there for 3 hours. I had reams of notes, had a suit. I was like selling my ass off, and um, yeah, one more interview later, and I got my dream job. I remember actually, um, Facebook does these weird things where you know the memories, and I posted the day after, saying I just scored my dream job. And
Nice.
it was more dream that it was a cool, interesting company. I could go traveling. I had no idea about experiential adventure, small group. All these things hadn't entered my vernacular. I didn't even know the difference between industry, direct, webbook. None of that had any world. So yeah, I was just stoked to have that job, and it was very serendipitous rather than some grand strategic plan.
But it was located in Melbourne.
Yep, in Melbourne. Yep.
Okay, so you didn't have to physically change your live. I mean, maybe you changed your living situation, but you didn't have to move anywhere
No,
necessarily. Okay,
very lucky.
and when you interviewed with them, did they put out there, hey, you're going to have some opportunities to travel? It sounds like I think you mentioned something about that. I want to go a little deeper because you could do all that digital marketing stuff from Melbourne without ever going on one of their trips, presumably.
Yeah, they definitely said there would be travel involved. It was super exciting for me at that point. I got to what we call FOC, free of charge trip each year. My first trip, they said you need to go on the trip within your first 6 months because you need to understand the business and what we're doing here. So I was lucky enough to go with my mates to do the Inca Trail in Peru, which was incredible. Again, super naive. Peru was amazing. It was so different. It was awesome. It was hard. It was really cool. Those things. Yes, I got to travel and yeah, started to travel every year on my free of charge trip. I got to go to to Everest, Morocco, Malaysia, yeah, the USA, all over the shop, and it's been yeah, amazing experience.
And you do you're able to remember that. So I'm sure you're also able to recognize like anybody listening to this right now, especially somebody that's listening to the show and it aspires to work in the tourism business. They're like, oh my gosh, like you said, dream job.
Yeah,
Like anybody that's really interested in travel imagines getting a job where they're not just encouraged to travel. It's like, here's a expense covered trip, free trip, whatever, and you got to do it. It's not like you can't just say, no, thanks. I'm not really interested. It's like, no, you're going traveling. It's pretty exciting for, well, it's a big reason why most of the people probably get in this business because they want to be able to do stuff like that.
yeah.
So that's very cool. What did, oh boy, I had a question right on the tip of my tongue and I guess I forgot it. Um, so let's move forward. But you were doing, so what exactly were you doing for them? What was the job description besides just take a free trip every year?
Yeah, well, I think people would call me like social media Jedi or social media guru, all that sort of stuff. But brutally honest, I had no idea what I was doing at that point because everything was so new. I set up our Facebook pages, set up our Twitter accounts, started our blog. Was really just getting all of that stuff set up, and then making sure that our PPC Google advertising accounts were producing revenue as they were supposed to. So, yeah, my day consisted of, checking the ads, uploading Facebook posts, dealing with customer, issues or complaints that they may raise in social media, writing blog stories, getting, people on the road bloggers to write for us. So it was a pretty dynamic and interesting job. And, yeah, it was, I loved it. So cool. I was so lucky to get it. I look back with fondness because I just got lucky. Like there's not too many times when in marketing there's a whole new sphere coming in, and you get to own it from the start. And I was young. I would only just learnt my chops at school. I hadn't had it, and yeah, it was really amazing to be, building our Facebook audience. I took it from zero to a couple 100,000. Um, Started the blog. These were all really cool, interesting things, and I was very lucky to be able to be at the start of it in many ways and ride a bit of a wave. And it got me the opportunity to learn about the business. And I probably wouldn't have had a long career. It's 15 years now in Intrepid, with the company. I got a bit of a free ride. I didn't know the industry. I probably hadn't earned a lot of the opportunities I got because I was in a new sector. People needed me. I remember getting brought into like a board meeting straight away and being like, we've got this issue. We need you to communicate it. This is going on. I'm like, I literally, I have been in this job 6 months, and I don't know how to do this, but I had to go make it happen. So I had to have responsibility. So yeah, that opportunity, being able to surf that wave, gave me such a good opportunity to learn about the company, learn about the business, learn about what I needed to do to be successful. And from that, just lots of other opportunities came with Intrepid, and I was able to grow into become the marketing manager, managing director, chief customer officer. I keep taking those opportunities, and I probably have never been ready for any of them, and I've just had to take that opportunity and roll with it. But I had such a good grounding to learn, and sort of my lucky way in, I had to, learn and get that grounding and sort of take that on. This was the first time I'd done it because there wasn't a roadmap. So it sort of put me in good faith where maybe other people coming into jobs in very established sectors or functions, there is a way to do things. There is a certain way. I just got to make it up. Obviously speaking to people, trying to get best practices, learn all that stuff, but there wasn't a roadmap and a runway. And maybe that just helped hardwire my brain. And I was very lucky at that time to make it happen.
Okay, got a few questions about that. First of all, the question I remember that I wanted to ask you before is, do you think that your time abroad contributed to you getting the job?
Yes. I think it's well either the direct fact that I lived overseas or the attitude change in my aptitude and thinking around the world was different. So yeah, it definitely attributed, and every move since and everywhere I've gone, part of it has been because it's not just the fact that I've been over there. You've been able to show to your employer or other people that you are self-reliant, you can problem solve, you can deal with issues, and all of this in another country without your support and friends. You can manage a budget because you've got to do it. So it does come with a certain level of like cheat code to the employers. They know that this person can do these things. So yeah, it's helped me time and time again.
That makes a lot of sense because I've noticed just in my travels, I'd been fortunate. I worked in the tourism business for quite a while. I've been to a lot of places, but honestly, most of those trips before were part of the job. And yes, I was leading group trips, so I had to figure things out and all that. But I'll tell you, having lived traveling for 4 years now full time, it's constant problem solving. It's
Yeah,
constant, like, just, I don't know where I'm going, but I have faith in my ability to figure it out along the way. And it's from like, I'm changing Airbnb rooms sometimes every week. And it's like, there's always a new challenge, a new obstacle. So when I look at somebody else that's, even just done a gap year or traveled a bit, I'm like, yeah, they know how to figure stuff out. They know how to show up, how to find a bus station and find a bus going to the place that they want to go, even though nobody speaks their language. And, they're a
yeah,
problem solving. It really is a
sure.
constant problem solving thing. So I get that completely. And I want to ask you kind of what advice you have for somebody listening to this that maybe wants to break into, similar type of work or into this space. But before we do that, I want to touch. You mentioned something interesting. You said you kind of came in a unique position and you had an opportunity to really kind of get in on the ground floor with the stuff with the social media and the blogging and all that. And I'm curious if you see a similar type of opportunity in the marketplace right now, maybe at Intrepid or just in general, that if you think, man, this type of work that I see is very similar to what I had. And if someone were going to want to try and get in at the ground floor, this is what they should be focusing on. I don't want to assume what you're going to say. I'm just curious what comes to mind.
Yeah, I think the comparable thing at the moment is AI, and that would have been the oncoming of social media. But I think any time we are able to come into a company with a new function where you write the rules is very advantageous. So regardless, I do see now in AI there's a lot of opportunity if you are able to understand its applications and how you can apply that to business or any other function, any other part of the world. It's going to be opportunistic for you. So yeah, pretty similar time, and I was able to take those things that I like doing with friends and to help me make some money. But yeah, I think the two things is big opportunity change with AI now, and there could be the next 10, 15 years of leaders probably will get their starts in companies in AI. But also, I think anytime you're able to get into a business and a function that's completely new for that organization, it does come with some pretty big advantages.
Here's what I hear you saying. I hear you saying that if somebody has the ability and the skill set to do both jobs, I'm going to give you two jobs to consider. They're able to do both of them really well, but their goal is to be president of the Americas for Intrepid 10, 15 years from now. One job is AI, I don't know, AI content creation, AI itinerary building, whatever. AI focused. It's kind of a newer position. Maybe it's a brand new position in Intrepid. Or they can come in and start as a guide working for Intrepid in Morocco. They've got the same skill set, the same education, everything. What I hear you saying is the AI job is probably a better opportunity for being president of the Americas 15 years from now. Is that accurate,
Uh,
or am I
uh,
misinterpreting?
no, I think well, in some regards accurate. I don't think it's the precursor for my job, but I think what it does is you're one of one,
Mm-hmm.
not one of thousands.
Yeah.
Right. So if you do a good job, you instantly stand out more. Also, because you're blazing a path, you've got more opportunity to integrate with the
Uh,
business that's new. So your runway. So you may stay as the head of AI, right? You may eventually become that, but your runway to do things is because there's no standard operating procedure. You know, you're given the space to make it happen. It's just you. So you do a good job or a bad job. So there's pros and cons of that. If you do a bad job, you're very noticeable. Um, I don't think it's a precursor to leadership. I think the things that I was lucky with was probably the ability to tell a story, make
yeah.
decisions, make stuff happen. And if you're able to do those things, you're going to put yourself in good stead. But yeah, I think in a new role, you just have that runway and there's no standard operating procedure. So you can sort of make stuff happen, how you want, which is quite fun, to bring your reality where in a lot of other jobs, you're falling into the machine and you're delivering on the IQ of that company that's been around for 10, 20, 30, 40 years on that particular topic. So you do fall into the standard operating procedure and the walls around you that you have to fit in to deliver on that job.
Do you getting into kind of, because I've worked in the corporate world as well, and your corporate world, well, I don't know, there's probably some similarities, but I suspect that there's, Intrepid's a large organization full of a lot of people that have worked their way up from being guides to, country managers to all these different things that kind of work
Yep.
their way up. Does that create some challenges when maybe they're now working for somebody that worked their way up through the technology or the marketing angle?
I look at no more than anything else. I think um, what is probably the biggest challenge. I don't think an Intrepid, if they've been on that far and they've grown up to the organisation, the culture will win. Yeah, so the culture that we've built, the process we've got, that will mean that they work in an Intrepid way, and we should be able to overcome that. Where we are humble, we're honest, we're real, we're ambitious. These things should come through. But you still have to be curious to learn about technology. So it doesn't come without its challenges, but we believe, or I believe, the fact that you've been with us, you've succeeded, you have the culture, you think the way that we want you to think, we work in these ways, that you should be set up for success. And it shouldn't matter too much if you've got a tech leader or you've got a comms leader or a even more operational leader.
Got it. No, that makes a lot of sense. So where did the trek to Everest Base Camp fit in to all this? What were you
Uh,
doing when you took that trip?
oh, forgot we spoke about that, Jason. Yeah, what was I doing? So at that point, I'd been at the company, I think 1 or 2 years. I was doing good, got promoted a few times, loving working there, really enjoying it. But I wouldn't say I was, ruling the world or really, really doing an amazing job and cool things. So, yeah, and after about a couple of years, I took that trip, and then, from that moment on, I really changed my thinking about the company, changed the thinking in my decision making, and was a lot more open to opportunity. So a couple of months later, I think 6 months later, opportunity came to be the Canadian marketing manager for Intrepid and to move to Toronto, and I went for it. And that's probably the most pivotal decision I've made since that moment. About a year later after that, I was the regional director for North America, running the sales, marketing, and all aspects in that market. Did that pretty successful for 4 years, and yeah, my life pretty much changed from that moment in taking that risk and moving somewhere else.
Very cool. So we've discussed a bunch of things. I know we've missed some gaps because your life is longer than this 1 hour conversation, and we probably don't need to touch on everything in your life. But I'm curious, what are you most? Let's discuss this. What are you most excited about right now, either in your personal life or with what Intrepid is doing? Because you guys are doing so many things. I mean, you can't. If you're on LinkedIn, you see constantly Intrepid is doing things. So, what are you most excited about right now?
I'll give you a personal and professional. One is seeing what happens with my daughter. She's 2 years old, and about 80% of my personality these days, Jason, is my daughter. And so happy with my wife and my daughter, and just excited to see where our life takes us. We've put a big strain on our little girl. She's new country. She's away from her family. So just excited to see what person she comes and where she takes us. She's made me such a better person in every facet of my life. I often think that, I need to be more like my daughter, go into every situation with a smile, tell people when I'm not happy. And things work out pretty good,
Yeah,
so I'm super excited to see what amazing things my daughter does, and that's what I think about most of the time. From a work perspective, for me, what I'm most excited about is obviously I moved my family, that young family I spoke to about to Seattle, and my focus here is making Intrepid the best travel company for the world in this market, and I think that in the USA and Canada that there's huge opportunities for a product like ours that brings people together, that focuses on connection, celebrates curiosity, takes people out into the world. And I'm just really excited giving this job a crack and hopefully, creating more intrepid people in the USA and Canada. So yeah, they're both big, bold things. I want to see more Americans and Canadians get out and see the world and create more intrepid people. And I want to see what cool stuff my daughter does.
I get that. Kids are amazing. It's such an amazing opportunity. It's not always easy. It's in fact
No,
most of the time it's not easy. You've had the easy 2 years, even though it might not seem like it with a 2 year old, but it's I certainly appreciate that. Do you know? I guess one thing I'm not clear on, and if I'm not clear on it, I bet there are other people not clear on it as well. So, the Americas for Intrepid is your job mostly to market experiences. It sounds like two people that live in the Americas to travel outside of the Americas,
that's
or
a big
is it
that's a big part of my job. So my job currently is uh, to do all the sales and marketing for outbound tourism out of Canada and the USA, and
okay?
also all the domestic tourism for Canadians and Americans in this market. I also manage and lead all the operational components, so the trips we run in Canada, USA, Costa Rica, Mexico, Peru, Ecuador, Colombia. So my role is, running great trips, but also getting more people to know, care, and experience Intrepid. So all facets of running a business and managing the people or delivering the P&L, finances, all those components.
Is there a new trip, new destination, or a particular area that you're super excited about right now? That who knows when somebody's going to listen to this? I'm just curious if there's something coming down the pike that's has you guys all getting excited that you're ready to announce.
I think the main things I'm excited they've been announced. I've got a couple of cool things coming, but I can't talk about them till next year. They're still not ready. But the main one has just been the national parks in the USA. I've just been staggered at how amazing they are and traveling to see them. We just launched one in the Great Basin National Park, which is the least visited national park in the USA. I'm pretty excited to get out and see that. But yeah, the national parks in America tell how amazing they are. In light of some of the funding cuts that the latest administration put in place, we launched an activism range of trips, and they're a set of trips where you get to go to a national park, with environmental advocate, and what we do is donate funds from that to charities, but also on that trip, you get to go with an environmental advocate who gives us conversations around the importance of national parks, gives you a toolkit on how to advocate for national parks. So that's been quite a cool, interesting product to get out there. And then we just launched Short Breaks, which is very much focused on US travelers, which are Intrepid experiences, generally 4 to 6 days, able to get there in a direct flight from the USA, and just really trying to create more products for Intrepid people to experience, that can't just do, 10, 15, 21-day trips, and give people a bit more flexibility. So, yeah, the national park product, activism trips, and our new product, Short Breaks, are probably the most interesting things that I've seen at the moment.
Very cool. And I suspect we didn't go there. I don't think we have enough time to go there. Probably need a whole nother episode if we were to discuss politics and things that are going on with tourism in North America between Canada, the US, and other places. So maybe, I don't know, is there anything you want to touch on? This is your opportunity, or we just skip over that as far as kind of the political environment.
Oh, look, I think, I think what I was saying, I think it's just frustrating to see the value destruction of, inbound tourism in the USA. There are less people coming to the USA this year than the previous. I think it's one of the only countries that has net negative tourism, inbound tourism, which is astonishing to see that. So that's frustrating for the industry. But overall, I'd say that these travel will be around a lot longer than any administration. And that, let's stick to our values and what's important to you, and chart a path forward.
All right. Very cool. Leigh, before we wrap up, is there anything I forgot to ask you, you wish I'd asked you, or you want to share with the world, either philosophically or about Intrepid, about your daughter, anything in particular you want to share before we wrap up?
No, I think you've gone deep into my past much more than I expected, Jason. I don't know if there's anything else. I didn't expect to speak about high school, my sisters being nurses, or my time in Edinburgh. But no, I think my main message is travel's a great way to change the perspective, to go and see the world. Um, but also, too, I think one of my biggest learnings is travel isn't the solution. It's a gateway for you to find the answers, and you still need to take action when you get back to where you are. I think too often that, maybe a little bit too eat, pray, love, that travel's going to solve all your ills. It's a great way for you to learn about yourself. It's a great way for you to learn about the world. You don't come back home a fundamentally different person unless you decide to do something about it. So I think my message to everyone is go travel, go see the world, learn stuff, and then put it into practice and make some changes.
Love it. Leigh, wise words. Thank you so much for taking time out of your evening. And I guess your daughter was probably already in bed, but
tucked in tight, mate. Yeah, got her in at 7:30 every night, so it's my favourite part of the day. So took her on a rocket ship up the stairs to tuck her in, and that's my highlight of the day at the moment, is being able to be that rocket ship captain to carry her up.
I love it. I miss those days with my kids very much. So I envy you and enjoy what you've got. And I look forward to chatting with you again at some point in the near future. Thanks, Leigh.
Absolute pleasure, Jason. Thanks for having a chat. It was good fun.
All right. You have a great day. Bye.
See you. Bye.
I trust you enjoyed listening to the conversation as much as I enjoyed recording it. If you're enjoying the Big World Made Small podcast, please take a moment to tell the algorithm by subscribing and posting a review so that others can benefit as well. I also invite you to take a quick trip over to bigworldmadesmall.com and join our private adventure travel community to receive new episode notifications, special access to our guest experts, and perhaps even some exclusive partner offers that we haven't discussed on the podcast. I'll publish another episode soon. Until then, keep exploring. It's the best way to make a big world feel just a bit smaller.